for our.
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I really think you have an amazing cause here, and I think it's so important to bring parents together. Sometimes it can be quite isolating for parents as well. Like if especially anyway, but if there are any challenges in any area of development for your children, so it's really I love the whole concept of AMI. And I'm really happy to do my third talk with you guys. So, a little bit about me. I know Priyanka already mentioned I worked in the I qualified in 2004, worked in the NHS, and I've basically lived internationally since 2012. I was in the UAE, in Dubai, where I was part of a startup and managed a multidisciplinary therapy center. I'm currently living in Peru. Moved here mid-pandemic, thinking, oh, I'll be able to get a job, but it was mid-pandemic, so and Peru was pretty bad. So I ended up setting up my own practice from abroad. But I am a UK business, and I actually work with many UK families, schools, and clients as well. So that's a little bit about me. Um, what I'm going to talk about today is early intervention, looking at the pyramid of language development, what you should be looking for. And really, today is going to be you're going to walk away, hopefully, with actionable strategies that you can get started with tomorrow morning. And I want to really stress how simple it is, and perhaps you're on a waiting list to be seen for speech therapy. Perhaps I can see there's parents of quite young children here as well, which is I commend you for like taking an interest so soon on as well, because you can really make a difference and be proactive and preventative in how you adapt your language and communication with your children as well. So most of the time when I do these talks, there are parents here that attend because they are concerned about their child's speech and language development. And it's very difficult. There are milestones out there, and I'm not going to go through the milestones in this. I'm going to briefly go over a few things, but if you want specific milestones, ages, and stages, you can look that up online. So the UK, they are different wherever you go. They're quite different. So the ones that I tend to go against are the Speech and Language UK milestones. So if you look up Speech and Language UK ages and stages, they have from 0 to 5, I think. The ages and stages, what you expect, what you should expect your child. Again, yes, children do develop quite at different ages as well. So you shouldn't be panicking, but there is also a risk of the wait and see approach. Early intervention is super important. Making little changes isn't about putting pressure on your child, but it's about giving them the best chance possible. There's so much evidence, not just for speech and language, but for all areas of learning and development, to show that early intervention maximizes your child's communication developmental potential, and can have a significant impact on other areas of development. And even if children catch up, because how many times have if I got a pound for every time I heard, oh, I didn't talk till I was 5, or my brother didn't do this until they were 5 and they were absolutely fine, which is amazing. That's where the wait and see approach does work. But actually, um, there's no there's it can be detrimental, because if your child is part of that percentage that where the wait and see approach doesn't work, you've missed a critical period where you could be making the maximum amount of difference. And there are longer term impacts of not getting in early. Learning delays, social emotional impact, because that impeding their ability to interact socially with their peers can have a huge impact on their confidence, self-esteem, etc., and behavior as well. And even those children that do appear to catch up, there's evidence to show that later, 2 or 3 years down the line, they have more difficulties with language and literacy in school, for example, because of those little gaps in development. So really, we want to capitalize on these early years because their brain is like a sponge and they're absorbing every single little thing that they hear and see. So that's why early intervention is really important. I am going to talk about parent um, involvement as well, just a little bit after I go over the pyramid of language development. But Priyanka mentioned earlier, like maybe you don't need to see a speech and language therapist, and maybe you don't. There's so many of my friends, I couldn't tell you how many of them send me a quick voice note and they say, "What can I do? My child doesn't do this." And I give them a few strategies and they're gone, "Oh, that made a huge difference." And they carried on their merry way. So, some of them do need speech and language input, but this is a really good place to start. And if you're on a waiting list as well, the strategies that I'm going to go through today are fantastic to just be able to pick up and go with. So, this is a bit of a broad um, diagram of the language development. An, e- an, im- an impairment, if you like, in any of these areas can cause a speech and language delay or disorder. And it's important to know whereabouts you think your child is in this pyramid. I saw that somebody had put in the chat in the comments where I saw earlier, it's like their speech is very unclear. So maybe it is just that the speech sounds are impacted. For some children, it's their interaction, their attention, listening, which is the foundational area, which is going to have a knock-on impact on all the areas above it. So it's really important to understand, the progression of their speech and language difficulties and their challenges and where to start. So just to go over what we mean by these things. So interaction, attention, listening, you're talking about, are they smiling at you? Are they excited by you? Do they show you things? Do they come and include you in their activities? If they're requesting for something, for example, do they look at the object that they're requesting you to help them with? Or are they looking at the object and looking back at you and looking at the object to share that joint attention, interaction, and gaze on that object? That's an attention and listening. Sometimes, I see children that are fixated on the thing that they want and they're like crying and looking at the object, but they're not looking at the person that's going to help them get that object. And do you have, for younger children specifically, are there back and forth exchanges of sounds or words? So if your child goes ba 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 and you go ba 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 back and then they say ba ba back, so you're having this like back and forth conversation, if you like. Those kind of things are like indications that they've got, a good level of attention and listening and interaction. Understanding. Now, this is something that can be sometimes misinterpreted, where, a child, sometimes you can think that they understand more spoken words than you realize because they are being clever and leaning on the understanding of the context. So, for example, if you say, you're about to go out of to the park or something, you say, "Go and get your shoes from under the stairs and put your red coat on and your scarf and your hat." It's like, wow, they've understood shoes, under the stairs, blue hat, red, whatever. But actually, the context of, well, mummy's got her car keys in her hand, she's got her coat on, we've got the going out bag. That means I need to put my shoes on and my coat on. So it's important to be aware of what exactly is. It's great that they're understanding the context, but there are ways to figure out, did they understand the words as well? You're looking at things like, are they following your instructions? Are they turning to to their name when their name is called as well. Those are really important. I saw that someone put that their child has hearing difficulties in the chat. I mean, of course, this has a huge impact on their understanding, on their interact attention and listening, because it's more that they won't be able to do the listening part. So in those instances, we have to be even more aware, and we have to be quite attentive to what their needs are. And I will specifically answer that question at the end as well. Pointing to familiar objects. I'm just trying to fix. Expressive language. So expressive language isn't just spoken language. It can be gestures, signs if you're using them. It can be symbols, use of pictures and things like that. However your child is expressing themselves. When they're babies, they express themselves by crying and screaming and whinging and laughing, because they don't have the words yet, and signing, hopefully. And a lot of the time when we're thinking about talking, when we're talking about spoken language, when a child isn't speaking, it's not that they won't, it's usually that they can't. So something is making it difficult for them to do it. So they will go around ways. So they will, you know, they will find shortcuts. And if they're like, oh well, if daddy just gives me the whatever without me having to ask for it, I'm not going to ask for it because it's a lot of effort for me to ask for it. So again, it's not that they won't, it's not that they're being lazy, it's that it's difficult for them. And they found a route, to get what they need, and without having to go through that difficult process. We all do it. We're going to choose the easiest way, wherever we can. Usually, so talking about milestones, just to briefly touch on them, by 1 year, they should be saying their first words around 12 to 14 months. At 2 years, they're putting two words together, for example, more juice. And at 2 to 3 years, they're putting, they're putting longer strings, maybe like 4 to 5 words. Me want more juice or something like that. You might see a bit of stammering. It's quite expected, kind of like 4 years and under, maybe even 5 years and under, because it's the number of words that they understand is significantly more than the words that they can say, and that's very typical as well. If there is a history of stammering or stuttering in your family, I'd keep an eye on that. But if there isn't, keep an eye on it anyway, and that should peter out as they get older and are able to express more. And then speech sounds, which is at the top of the pyramid. That's the last thing that we focus on. Your child is a child. Their speech is not going to be clear. It's not going to be 100% clear. But usually by around 3 or 4, a parent should be able to understand 75 plus % of what they're saying. Unfamiliar listeners will probably understand less, but really, when we're talking about speech sounds, yes, there are specific processes that they go through. For example, there's a process called fronting, where k sounds, k and g, which is made by the back of your tongue, are produced with the front of your tongue. So they say t instead of a k. So they might say tup instead of cup, dod instead of dog. And you might recognize these. Now, a process like fronting should be eliminated by 2.5, 3 years of age. And I always look at, hold on, is it impacting their ability to interact at the level that they should be interacting at that age? And if it is, then it's important to focus on it. However, if the areas underneath are also an impact, I would work on the lower areas first before working on speech sounds. So yeah, if there are hearing difficulties, obviously there will be speech sound difficulties, especially if the hearing difficulty is glue ear, for example. The nature of glue ear is that sometimes their hearing is fine and sometimes it's not fine. So they get that they're hearing sounds and words inconsistently, which is very confusing for a child. So that's something that to be really aware of as well. So I talked about parents are the best therapists. It might be the case that you don't need to see a speech and language therapist yet, but there are definitely things that you can start doing. Even if you don't think there's any issues, you've not got any concerns, you can start using strategies. It's really important. A speech therapist, if you're lucky to see one, will see them once a week for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. I don't know how the provision works now. If they're little, you probably won't get to see a speech therapist at all. But even if you are seeing a speech therapist, the things that you can do, you're with them significantly more time than a therapist is. So, and you can use natural contexts to reinforce and consistently adapt the language to help them learn. And children learn language. We learn language in natural context. If you ever try to learn a foreign language within their natural context, it's much easier than in a sterile classroom, for example. So parent involvement is so important. They can generalize strategies throughout different contexts, but again, natural context, and it will have a huge impact. Also, you're the expert on your child. You know what they like, you know what they need. So you can really take advantage of that and create opportunities to practice these strategies. So, moving on to some strategies, what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe a few strategies, and then I'm going to put them in the context of some daily routines. So, I'm really going to literally give you the words and things to do to help your child. So, to develop their interaction skills, so the bottom of that pyramid, the most important thing is follow their lead. Now, following their lead is something to do all the time as well, regardless of wherever you are in that pyramid, because um, you're showing them that by following their lead, you're engaging in something that they are interested in. And we are always, as human beings, we are more willing, we are more interested and engaged if we are doing something that we are interested in. Oh, you like dogs? I love dogs too. Oh, you like eating chocolate? I like eating chocolate. Let me talk to you more. We're drawn to people. We're more engaged in conversations when we're talking about things that we're interested in. If your child is not able to talk much yet, we go in on, oh, what are you doing? Follow their lead. It's important to note that, say, if you have some blocks and you want them to build a tower, because that's what they should be doing, building a tower with the blocks. But no, they want to bang the block on the floor. That's not how you play with it, but we follow their lead. That's how they are playing with it. As long as it's safe, you bang as well, and then you just watch the difference of how they're like, oh, you're doing the same as me. Whereas if you went, no, this is how you do it, they're literally not going to be interested in that. So following their lead, even if it's not how you think they should be playing with an activity or doing something, is really important. And that in itself is so powerful. Imitate their actions. So if they're banging, you bang. And their vocalization. So if they're going you imitate um you can build anticipation. So if you're playing with a car, for example, and you're pushing the car along, you can build anticipation by ready, steady, pause. They're looking at you because they know what's coming and it's really exciting, and then you can go. You can do the same with, like, if you're pushing them on a swing, push, already steady, hold them, and then push, go. So you can make it more exciting. You are the reinforcer, you are the thing to make them more engaged. And yeah, be fun and exciting. I've given you some examples there already. Okay, the next thing is commenting. We love asking questions. I do it myself. I'm guilty of it myself, and I'm a speech and language therapist, and I know I shouldn't do it. Questioning is a great way of, making them think, developing those thinking skills. But if your child isn't talking yet, even if you're asking them something that you know that they can say, try and lay off of that. Commenting is much more effective to build their expressive language. So we'll go to the block banging. Bang, 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 bang. You give them the word. So you're following their lead and you're giving them the word. Even if you feel that they understand longer strings of sentences, the reason why they aren't talking as much or talking at all yet is because they haven't, it's too much. So they can understand it. Again, learning a foreign language, we can often understand, we pick up the gist of what's going on, but if you were to repeat something back, it would be really difficult because they've not really separated those words. So we separate those words. We use 1 to 2 words. If your child is using one word already, they say ball, say yes, roll the ball, roll the ball, roll the ball. We be consistent, we go slowly, and we pause, and we be exciting as well. So I think about it as filling a jar. So imagine a jar. Every time they hear a word clearly, they're filling that jar. And that jar needs to be full and overflowing for them to be able to repeat that word back. If we say the words within a big long sentence, they won't have heard that word clearly enough to start filling that jar. So we say the word really clearly. A note about pausing. Was that really uncomfortable? It wasn't even 5 seconds. I paused deliberately there for 5 seconds. Okay. It's really uncomfortable. We're not used to it. That is one of the things I work with parents a lot, is just wait. So you do your comment, roll ball, and then you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, at least, before you say anything else, before you repeat it, before you ask a question, before you say anything else. Because that pause, it slows down the pace, it reduces pressure on your child. So we can inadvertently be putting pressure on our child. It gives your child the time to think about what they want to do, think about what the word might be. It gives them that time. When we're butting in, we're interrupting that time because maybe they're thinking, I mentioned the reason why your child isn't talking is because it's difficult for them. They're thinking, they're trying to find the right word, maybe. But if we butt in before they've had enough time, they'll just think next time it's like, oh, there's no point in me even trying to think about it because, they're going to say something else. So we just really taking that pressure off. We're giving them the chance to repeat the word. We're not asking them to repeat it, but that pause, see what they do. Maybe they will repeat it, maybe they won't. But you're reducing that pressure. You're showing them that you're listening, that you're waiting, and that you're interested in what they want to do. And in that pause, they might change the direction of play. And again, we go back to following the lead. Okay, you want to do that? Fine. It's really hard, but that's a challenge to you, is that pause, that fight. It was only 5 seconds. It feels really uncomfortable. And, just reflect. Next time you're playing with your child tomorrow morning, reflect on, hang on a minute, am I butting in here? Signs and gestures. Signs are my favorite thing. Anytime a friend has a new baby, the first thing I buy them is a baby sign book, because there's so much evidence to support signing and language development. Even 3 or 4 years into schooling, children that have been exposed to signing have better language and literacy levels than their peers who haven't been exposed to signing. Um, it facilitates all parts of language, sentence structure, vocabulary, social interaction as well, because it involves, looking. And when we use our hands and we talk, we're using more parts of our brain as well. So we're just really developing every part of our brain as well. And it improves parent-child bonding. Um, my sister-in-law and one of my very close friends who's a speech and language therapist used signing both of their kids, the sister-in-law and friend, two different people, and they were signing from, with their child. My sister-in-law's little girl was signing at about 6 or 7 months. More when it was snack time, she was requesting that. And my friend's daughter, Milk, she was about 10 months old when she was requesting milk. So you've got less crying. Oh, I've got a thumbs up there. Less crying, able just a calmer, less frustrated situation can make a difference to a day as well. Okay, next. And then the next thing is creating opportunities. So I've already talked about waiting. By waiting, you're creating an opportunity for them to tell you what they want. And for you to look at, what are they doing? Oh, they're banging the block on the table. Great, I'm going to use that opportunity to comment, bang, bang, bang. And then we can have a back and forth interaction. It's very, like I mentioned before, we do tend to butt in before they have the chance to do that, because we think we are scaffolding that interaction, but we don't need to just yet. Just wait and see what they do. We can be deliberate with the words we use. So, for example, today I was working with a parent. We were having a session, and the word we're going to focus on is open. So it's okay. Let's think of how many times in the day can I model the word open, so they're hearing it lots of times. We need to fill their jar, remember. So we need to hear that word open. Open is a great word. Every time before you go through a door, hand on the handle, open. Every time you open a packet of a snack or something, open. A banana, open. Getting in the car, you've got to open the car. There's so many opportunities to model those words, but it's being very deliberate and thinking about those opportunities. Playful obstruction is a really good way as well. So something that I've done lots of times is a car on a car ramp. You know those little ramps that you get where the car goes down? You can put your finger in, your hand in the way. It goes ready, steady, go, stop! Ready, steady, go, stop! Ready, steady, go, stop! So you stop, 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 and ready, steady, go. You've created the opportunity to repeat that 3 or 4 times within one game. And that's the idea, is you're creating opportunities to repeat those models, those comment. When I say modeling the word, I'm just saying you comment, you say the word. You can use lead in phrases as well. So, and incorporate that with a pause. So ready, steady, that's your lead in phrase. Or if they are choosing a snack, your lead in phrase is I want apple, or I want banana. Pause. And then they might reach for the one that they want, and you go, oh, I want banana. But you can pause. So I want apple, or I want, if you know that they know the word, You can see, and then if they don't fill it in, then you fill it in for them again. By no means are we insisting that they speak to get what they want as well. We're just creating those opportunities. Um, and I'm going to go through some examples in the later slides. And making up repetitive songs as well. Silly songs, but if you are walking, we are walking, we are walking, we are walking, we are walking. Just keeping it very repetitive, saying the same words very clearly as well. And then you can you can pause. We are. If they fill it in, great. Remember to wait the 5 seconds. If they don't, then you fill it in as well. We just got to be really supportive about it as well. Right, so this is the practical bit. So those strategies, I'm sure you've started thinking about, oh, actually I could do it with this, or I could do it in that. And I'm going to talk about some daily routines. Often it can be quite daunting for a parent to think, oh, but I haven't got time, I'm so tired, I'm so busy. It's a lot of pressure. You can feel a lot of pressure, and you can feel like you're putting pressure on your child as well, but you're not. Like, these strategies are all in a non-pressury way, and they're in activities that I'm pretty sure you will do most days with your child, even if you are both working parents and you don't have a lot of time in the weekdays, which is a very real situation. But there is still time in those daily activities that you definitely do. You definitely feed your child, you definitely bathe your child, those things, I hope. And these are the activities and examples that you can use. So, bath time. I'm pretty sure everyone here bathes their child. So, the words that you can use, things like open or turn. So, when you're opening the tap, depending on what you use, water, closed, close the tap, in, putting the toys in the bath, splash, 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 under, like you might play with the toys and put them under the water, and wee, if you're like, okay, like maybe something's going down something and you're going wee. It's really hard because you get used to something that's really hard to get out of the habit of, is using lots of words. Shall we open the tap? Or put the toys in the toys in the bath. That put the toys in the bath. We said 6 words when really the important word is in. Okay, so remember, yes, your child might understand those 6 words or that phrase, but if they're not saying any words, we just do that. If they can say one word, you might say in the bath, or put it in, something like that. But remember to be repetitive with the phrase that you use. So trying to just keep your language really simple. And you create opportunities to use. So what I would suggest is choose like 2 or 3 words that you're going to use throughout that, and you're going to really emphasize. So involve them in the getting the bath ready process if you can, and you turn the tap a little bit and you go open or turn, turn, turn. So you're being playful, you're getting them engaged, but you're creating an opportunity to model that word, fill that jar multiple times. You might choose to say more. We need to open it more. And but whatever word you use, keep it consistent. Don't go from turn to more. Just keep the same word for the same activity. When you're putting the bath toys in, don't just put them all in and plonk your child in the bath. Get them involved, and let them put them in one by one, and you can model in, or put it in. You'll be really surprised how quickly they will start imitating you as well. So they'll say in, or you can label it ball in, duck in, duck in. I know it sounds really repetitive, but this is how you'll see, honestly, I promise you, they will start repeating it back because they're having the opportunity to hear it lots of times as well. And remember your pauses. Um, Playing in the bath, comment. Pouring, pouring, or ducky goes under, or ducky is flying. Trying to be repetitive as well. So under, 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 up, or something like that. So just remembering to be repetitive as well. And then, oh, almost forgot the signs. I'm going to go through the signs actually, but you can use the signs for more and in, for example. As that's bath time. Getting dressed. Again, open when you're opening the cupboards or opening the drawers. So rather than having the clothes ready, get them involved in that process. Arms and legs, like arm in, leg in, pull it up, or just up, arms up, for example. So, help me. So one of the opportunities is you can give the socks to your child. Just let them try and do it. That's a really good thing to do anyway. Building a bit of resilience. Let them try and put their socks on. And then when you see if they indicate that they want help, so they might look at you, they might whinge a bit, and you can go, oh, I want help, or help, help. And then you help them. But let them struggle. Let them need to use that word. So then they understand the meaning of that word as well. You can pause before you open the cupboards. We need to open, or whatever. Pretend the drawer is really heavy, giving you the opportunity to repeat that word open or pull multiple times. Pull, pull, pull. Yay! So you're just playful, you're getting them engaged, but they're understanding that meaning. You've got their attention as well. Giving them options, green or yellow, or I want green socks, or I want yellow socks. If your child isn't saying any words, I would say use one word. If your child is using little words, maybe they'll say green, and you can go, oh, I want, you can add that phrase. So it depends on where they are as to how much modeling and commenting you want to give them. Remembering though, when you're giving those options, you're not asking them to verbalize the request. If they do, amazing. Remember your pause. If they do, amazing. If they don't, wait the 5 seconds, or they might reach. Oh, I want red socks. You tell them. So, because it means that you need to fill their jar more with those words. And you can give silly options like socks on head or socks on feet. And emphasize those keywords. And the signs you can use: open, in, and help. Again, I'll go through. Brushing teeth. They will brush their teeth twice a day. So again, you can label the objects. So it's just really remembering to keep your language simple using little words, not long sentences. And you can say, I need toothbrush. I need toothpaste. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze as you're putting it on. Turning the water on, etc. And you can create opportunities by keeping things out of their reach or inside cupboards. So then you can go open, or you can say, where is the toothbrush? Open. Give them the wrong toothbrush. No, I want blue toothbrush. For example, make a repetitive song. This is the way we brush our teeth. That's quite a long one, but you can do, I am brushing, I am brushing. I know I keep using the same tune, but I'm not that creative. Maybe you have more. But remember to keep the words less as is suitable for your child. And again, pretend the tap is tight. Turn it, turn it, turn it. So those are just some examples. Before I go to the Makaton signs, I just want to talk about things to avoid, which I have mentioned on. Asking questions. What's this? What's that? What sound does a cow make? What do we, whatever. Trying to avoid those questions if your child is not talking much. Because even if you know that they know the word and it's like, I heard them say the word, we need to just keep that pressure off them. Avoid asking for repetition. Blue toothbrush. Can you say blue toothbrush? Again, even if you know that they can say it, don't. That pause that you're going to be doing will give them that opportunity to repeat, and they will repeat when they're ready without you asking them to. But that 5-second pause is really, really powerful. Avoid directly correcting, of course, if the difficulty is speech sounds, or if they're saying something like, no, you don't directly correct, you can remodel. So they might say, oh, it's a my top instead of my cup. So you can say, oh, yes, it's your cup. So you're not directly, just remodeling it. And long strings of speech, avoid that, and avoid insisting on verbal responses. So the Makaton signs, more in open help. I'm just going to stop. No, actually, I'll go over them again once I take the thingy off. But some of you might already be using signs, which is amazing. You can pair them with these opportunities and within these activities as well. Doesn't always work if your hands are full and things like that, but wherever you can. More is you have one hand is a fist, so your left hand is your fist, and like this, and you just putting a lid on it. More. We always say the sign at the same time as actually doing the sign. More. So you open the tap and you close the tap and you go, more. We need more. Open it. And you can model, comment, open, close. More. We need more. In is, so you create a little container with your left hand, and then in. Depending on what it is, it might go in that way or in. And then you have open. So to open a door is open, and then close. It's literally like that. But it depends on what you're opening. So actually, if you're opening a drawer, I would do open. Or if you're opening a box, open. Or a window, open, like that. So you can make it quite visual, but keep it consistent. Help is a really good one. So you have flat palm, left palm up, flat, and your like a thumbs up fist like this, and it's directional. So I help you, you help me. So you would say, help me. I want help, because you're offering the help to them. Where. So again, we are saying the where, but they don't have to answer. Flat palms, and we circle them backwards. Where? Again, your facial expression will be also question eyebrows. And then under. So you have your flat palm facing down, under. I think that was the last one. Yeah. I'm going to share a link. So those daily routines that I've talked about, I have some handouts here available as well. So I'll put the link in the chat for those as well. If you want some like specific guidance on that, and you can stick it to your fridge, you can give it to grandparents, you can give it to childminders, even give it to nursery as well, to give them an idea of what they're doing, just so that everyone's on the same page, just to remind you as a reminder as well. And so I'll pop that link in the chat in a minute. But that's the end. I'm going to go through some of the questions. So let's stop the share. There we go. So I'll put the link. in the
Hi
chat.
Nisha, sorry, I'm just quickly going to interrupt because I'm aware that we are getting close to the
Yes, I ran
time,
over.
but it's
Sorry.
fine. If you're okay to run over a little bit, then that'll be great so we can get.
Yes.
Did I mute again? So I was just going to say, I'm going to quickly pop in as well. Many of you who have attended these sessions will know that we have a feedback form. I'm just going to pop the link now. So, once your questions are answered, if you can spare a couple of minutes to do the feedback form, that's just extremely important for us. So I really, from the bottom of my heart, request you to fill it in, honest feedback, unfiltered, and that'll just help us do sessions better. And we're really interested in knowing what you care about most. So thanks for that. Sorry, Nisha. I just thought I
No
know I
problem.
said I'd do
Yeah.
that at the end. I just wanted to do it now because we're close to
Yes,
the time.
absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to go up from the most recent because that's going to be easiest. So, what baby signing book would you recommend? There is one that I always get on Amazon UK. Amazon. Uh, Let me have a look. Baby sign. It's called My First Signs, BSL. I'm so sorry. There's someone at my door. Hang on 1 second.
I've just put that in the chat. I'll try to find the link as well.
Sorry, my client was early. Okay, right. So sorry about that. Sorry, it's called My First Signs, BSL, baby signing. I'll just share my screen so you can see what it looks like. My dog's going. So it's this one here in the middle. Oh, no, that's not what. Oh, yeah, that one. Okay. So I'll put the link in the chat again for that in a bit. Right. So do you run any sessions with tips on how to help speech and language development for bilingual children? I don't. I do have a program that is so all of these strategies are great for bilingual children as well. Really, anything shouldn't be too different. Keep your child exposed to all languages that are key. I have got a program called Help Your Toddler Talk, which is a set of pre-recorded sessions that goes into a little more detail about strategies. But really, with bilingual children, I wouldn't do anything different. If there are 3+ languages, if they're multilingual, then that's something that we need to. That's a bit more complicated to think about. But with bilingual children, it's the same strategies apply, really.
There was another question related to that since we are on the
Yes.
topic.
Yeah.
It was about milestones being the same for multilingual children or not.
Yes. And they are. The thing with so there's a myth that bilingual children have delayed speech and language milestones, which is not true. They actually develop, if anything, they might be advanced. When you're counting the number of words a bilingual or multilingual child can say, you're counting the word in each language as a word. So a monolingual might say ball, but a bilingual child might say ball and pelota, which is a Spanish word for ball. That means that's 2 words. So that's the thing when you're counting the words, and if they know the sign, that's 3 words. You're even counting signs as well. But the milestones are the same. Would speech improve after grommets, or would they need speech therapy? Speech should improve after grommets, but I would also recommend speech therapy, even if it's just a consultation, to just get you on the right track of what to do. But these kind of strategies will be really helpful, keeping your language simple, clear. With children with hearing difficulties, it's really important that you're looking at them, and gestures and signs are really important as well to make sure they're still getting that language development as well, because their language can still develop. Um, but maybe it won't be spoken. The spoken words might be a bit delayed, but if they're building on their signs and their understanding of pictures, that's still developing their language as well. So, what's the next one? My son struggles with emotional regulation and self-harms, hits his head and rages. Would speech and language therapy help him? So, yes. I would say with emotional regulation, you're probably better off to see an occupational therapist. But a speech and language therapist I've worked with, I literally had a session with a teacher with my teaching group today where there was a boy who has significant emotional regulation issues, and we introduced a visual for him. He would get very upset if he wasn't able to be first in the line, wasn't able to hold the teacher's hand all the time. We introduced a visual to show him, okay, 3 boxes. So and so will go first, then you will go second, and then so sometimes just having some helping with communication can help. But the speech therapy, I would say, would need to be in relevant context. So either a home visit or in school, or where the challenges lie. But I would recommend occupational therapy before speech if you had to choose one. Okay, right. Please do pipe up if there's any follow-on questions from that. Do my best to be as concise as I can. I have a 3-year-old non-verbal with autism and 20-month-old who understands everything and sometimes says, sorry, a 20-month-old who understands everything and sometimes says words when they're shown but doesn't speak in general, probably following a sister but does not have autism. Okay, so these get the hearing tested, first thing I would say. And these strategies, commenting 20 months, do these strategies, keep it simple, because again, understands everything is sometimes can be a bit detrimental, because then we talk to them faster, more complex sentences. So simplify your language, be repetitive, lots of pausing, follow their lead. So what I would say. Are there specific considerations or things to be mindful of when children are raised in a multilingual environment? I would say, like I mentioned before, keep your speak to your children in their in your mother tongue. What's most natural for you. If you are, what I usually say to families, multilingual families in the UK, is that they live in an English speaking country. So if you're concerned about them learning English, they will get enough exposure of that at school and out and about. So you focus on your home language, is what I would say. But the more languages, the better. It's much better for their brain development as well. Okay. Sensory processing sensitivities. So that would be occupational therapy. But again, being mindful when you're doing your strategies is really good. Keeping the language simple will minimize the overstimulation as well that they're experiencing. My question is how to support my young child who's under hearing has difficulties with speech sounds, not able to produce a lot of sounds. Hannah, how old is your child would be my question. I is Are they going to have, is it a glue ear thing? Are they going to have, I'm going to come down because I don't know if you're
He's
replying
four
to
years
4
old,
years. Yeah,
this one.
thank you. So so they might, if they have hearing difficulties, that does need to get kind of sorted out first before you can really properly help them with their speech sounds. But what you can do is, make sure you're talking to them face to face. Be really clear and exaggerate the speech sounds that you use when you talk to them. So, and show them, what your mouth is doing as much as you can. So, oh, it's a cup. You're being really exaggerating, opening your mouth so they can see where your tongue is. Oh, it's mummy, for example. Um, but yeah, that's what I would say. Listening games are really good, but might be a bit unfair if they're struggling to hear the sounds. So, for example, if they, just if they have trouble with a particular sound, say the sound is k, I would find some handouts that have cut words, cut them out, and just play games with them, posting them through the box. Oh, it's a cup, post it through the box. It's a cat. So it gives you the opportunity to show them that sound, even though they might not be hearing it that well. I hope that helps.
Sorry, I'm just going to
Um,
mention people are dropping off. So, but if you
yes.
could please do the form before you drop
Yeah.
off, it's really important, as I
Right.
mentioned.
Glue it,
Sorry, Nisha.
awaiting. It's all right. Hannah, you say glue it, awaiting grommets. So there are those things that just play, struggles with some for their high frequency sounds, so they're difficult to hear. But doing gestures, um, and you can be really visual with the sound as well. I worked with a child, we called it the beaver sound, because the beaver looks like that, and you can get a picture of a beaver off of the internet and be like, oh yeah, these words have the beaver sound. But don't ask him or her to repeat the sounds back or the words back, but you can just play lots of games with words that include those sounds. Find some pictures and objects and things like that. Diana, 22-month-old twins say the first letter or syllable rather than full word, but don't say more than a few whole words. Is that normal? On the surface, I would say that's probably a little bit delayed. Again, I'd get the hearing tested again if you haven't done it recently. And being really, when you're commenting, stick to the commenting, exaggerate the sounds of words. And if they are saying the first letter or syllable, exaggerate. Oh, it's a bed. Cup. And just be really slow and deliberate when you say the words as well. And signing really helps. So signs and gestures, you don't have to learn a sign system. You can use a gesture if you don't know the signs to help. So yeah, whiz through those. That was like a whistle stop. I hope I answered everyone's questions. And yeah, please do fill in the forms.
There was one question on lisps.
Did
If you work
lists.
on lisps for children, age 4.
Um, so an age for lisp, it depends on how the lisp is. Because you've got a lisp and then you've got a lateral lisp, which is where the sound is going down the sides of the tongue. A lateral lisp is something that a speech therapist would work on because it's atypical. A lisp where they are kind of doing a th is quite typical. By around 5-ish, it should be resolved. And also it depends on how much it's impacting their confidence, the clarity of their speech. But short answer is yes, we do work on lisps. But again, lots of visual, look at what my mouth is doing. But with lateral lisps, that would need a speech and language therapist to help you work on that. So thank you.
If I can just ask a question to the community actually here who are attending, are you keen on a multilingual language development webinar? Just maybe with a show of hands or something. Just if you're able to do that, let us know.
I think that's a
Also,
yes.
just to let everybody know, if you do sign up to the community, we want to keep access to the recordings really small, so it will be only for community members, and we'll be cutting out the entire Q&A sections if we do that. So if you do want to sign up to the community to get access, let us know. We'll be editing out the question piece just to maintain people's privacy.
I'll just put the link to the handouts again. Okay.
Anisha, to be clear, you do see patients in the UK, right? Like that is
I
something that,
do.
yeah.
Yeah. So I do parent-child interaction sessions. So I work with the parent. They go off and, we work on like one or two strategies, and then they'll send me videos, and then we basically have a back and forth, and I provide that ongoing support. And I do, because private therapy is really expensive as well. I do have a program called Help Your Toddler Talk. Like I mentioned, it's a set of 6 pre-recorded videos. Handouts are included, checklists that you can share with nurseries, other family members as well. And it's just download the videos and you can watch them at your own pace, where I go through these strategies in a bit more detail as well. And you can, watch it whilst you're making dinner or something like that, and try and implement things bit by bit. And that's like the cost of a private therapy session, and you get all of that information as well. So that those details are on my website. I'll put my website up here. The Therapy Place UK.com. Am I .com? I think it's either .com or .co.uk. And then I'm on Instagram as well. What's my Instagram handle? At the Therapy Place UK is my Instagram handle, if you want to access me a bit more easily. And you can email me. The Therapy Place UK.com. But I think that was all the questions. If anyone has any more questions, oh yeah, I missed that one. Yeah, multilingualism is a whole new, whole other
That was
conversation.
such an oversubscribed session that we had on that last year as well.
Yes,
There
yeah,
were
yeah.
almost, yeah,
Whenever I do that, everyone's interested, because there's, especially in the UK, because there's so many different cultures and nationalities, and yeah.
exactly. Well, I think it's been great. The feedback is coming in and it's all really encouraging and positive. Nisha, thank you again for an extremely valuable session. I
Thank you
think
for
those
having me.
practical tips and strategies doing the day to day is so helpful, right, for everyone.
Yeah.
And so many things I wish I knew to do back then. This is why we do this.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing. So thank you so much. It's always
You're
appreciated. And
welcome.
I'll share some of that as well with you
Yeah.
later.
That'll
So
be
you have
great.
that.
Thank you. Fab.
No, thanks everyone for attending. And we know it's late. If
Thank
you
you.
do have any further questions for me or for Nisha, please let me know and I'll make sure to connect you. And you have her details here as well. So feel free to reach out. All right.
Okay.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night,
Thanks for this.
everyone.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.